Welcome to episode 279 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have a special episode this week. It happens to be my birthday at the start of this show recording, and I have everybody here that's been on the show and then some, and we just love having my friends here to celebrate as well as celebrate talking about Apple. But first off, Patrice Brend'amour is here. Thank you so much for being here, Patrice. How you doing, Patrice?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Happy birthday! I'm so glad that you wanted to do a show on your actual birthday and that you invited me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's going to be a lot of fun. It just so happened to fall on a Friday, so it worked out really well.
And I'm guessing you're going to go for some awesome food later on, right?
I am. It's going to be a hibachi. I'll have to report back and do another episode of Foodie Flashback.
I think so, yeah.
Are you going to order tater tots?
They probably don't offer that, but
no.
But also joining, Jeff. And we are recording this in the afternoon on Friday, so it's a little different. But I am so thrilled that Kelly Gamet was able to make it. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing well. How about you, David?
Doing well.
And
Great.
Happy birthday, fellow Scorpio.
Thank you very much. And Jeff Gamet is here as well. You heard his voice. How you doing, Jeff? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing great, and I'm excited that I get to be here on your birthday.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. And last but certainly not least, Ben Roethig, thank you for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Dave. It's been a week with not a lot of talking, but I'm better now.
Good to hear. And we may grace the presence of Chuck Joyner in a little bit here, but we'll see how that goes. But for right now, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about this week. Some news of the day and all kinds of stuff that's been happening with Apple, as well as updates. And I found this interesting thing to talk about. I think we'd have a good discussion about cables for your devices. Which one do you buy? As well as I did get the Apple Pencil right there. That's the $79 USB-C. I'm going to do a review of it.
Nice.
And we'll see. So we'll talk about that and then some. So let's go ahead and get started. The first story of the day, I think, was a kind of more of an amusing one of anything. Barbra Streisand. You never thought I would say that on this show. Corrected Siri by calling Tim Cook. And she had problems with Siri like everybody else, but of course she got to fix her irritation by phoning up Tim Cook. Siri's pronunciation of names and places is pretty good as far as text-to-speech goes, but it's not perfect, as we all know. In one instance, when the S-Lady was getting it slightly wrong, one famous user decided to complain to the top of Apple. And this happened before, and I guess having that one perk of fame, Streisand said as a quote, getting support from Tim Cook over S-Lady wasn't Streisand's only notable brush with technology. The Streisand effect, the phenomenon when someone attempts to censor information online, but instead it propagates to a much wider audience. Of course, that's talking about her failed lawsuit of people not being able to photograph her mansion in 2003 because of they're doing a coastline erosion project. So I found this to be very amusing. And I guess she's got that connection with Tim. So I don't know if Tim did much because they didn't say anything if she did. What do you think, Patrice?
I mean, that's probably not the only case of stuff like that happen. I mean, I remember there was some story. I think it was an Apple exec who actually dropped off his iMac at someone at the company, like at Apple, some other exec, and said like, "Okay, there's a bug, fix it," and like stuff like that. I think stuff like that happens more than we realize.
Oh yeah,
because I mean, they share phone numbers. They have the numbers. They have friendships sometimes or relationships of some sort. So they're like, I mean, wouldn't you do that if you were friends or somehow at least had some connection with Tim Cook? Wouldn't you call him and say, "Well, this is broken. Can you fix it?" I would.
I would make it count, though. You know.
Yeah, sure. Like do it for something important.
She always gets my last name wrong 100% of the time until I retrain it. And it will shock you to know that I have other people in my phone who have the same last name spelled the same way. And it also pronounces them wrong too. So, it's the kind of thing where I think you would have to kind of pick your battles. But probably what happened, I assume this is not the first time someone who is friendly with Tim Cook has called him and said, so my phone is doing this thing that I don't like. And so as family tech support, he has probably mastered, well, let me see what I can do. I'll look into it, and then, left it at that, depending on, what actually can be done, so yeah.
That's a really good point. I mean, it's like we all do that. We all are family tech support, and we all know how annoying it sometimes can be. Like when everybody's coming to you with their little pet peeve and their little problem. Now imagine you're Tim Cook, and basically the entire world is coming to you.
Yeah. He must. I feel like he must have a secret email at Apple, because everybody knows that Tim Cook at Apple.com is going to go to him. So the one that he actually uses for stuff is probably something like,
or they have really good filters.
Or somebody else has access to his inbox. Like I can't even imagine
that's 100%.
the fire hose.
Oh, definitely.
100%. Probably more than one person.
Yeah. I would
the email address he actually uses is cooktim6568.
Tim Apple.
Now he has to change it again.
Yeah, I'm going to get a call on that one.
You really are.
Any other thoughts, guys? We can move on this story.
Yes.
Yeah,
First, I would have been horribly disappointed if they hadn't made a Streisand effect reference in the article. So I'm glad to see it.
Yes,
my other comment is, if you're going to use your own keyboard to stage a photo for an article, clean your frickin' keyboard first.
That's so true.
Reach.
It was a stock photo.
Even worse.
That's even worse.
Even worse.
I know.
I mean, one, you couldn't clean your keyboard for the stock photo. Two, if you picked the stock photo, you picked the one with the dirty keyboard.
I didn't even notice that. It does look gross.
Why is your phone ringing?
Yeah,
it's probably Tim Apple.
It was. Yeah. It was Tim Apple.
Come on, Tim.
And honestly, whoever was running the stock photo service should have been like, no.
If it's a stock, I don't think that's a stock photo. I think somebody needed an image for a post, and it took a picture of a keyboard that really could stand. If you're going to get that close, you should. Keyboard.
If you're, I don't know, if you don't want to clean your keyboard for some reason, use AI to do it nowadays. Just clean up the photo.
Yes.
Or you get one of these and then you peel it off, take the picture, and put it back on, and this can be as grubby as you want.
She's showing a rubber cover for the
keyboard.
keyboard.
I have a keyboard. Yeah, I have a thing over my keyboard. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on before this goes off the rails more than it already has. Next story here is Disney Plus and Hulu are going to merge into a single app, and then beta is going to be coming in December. Disney announced this week that it'll soon combine the Disney Plus and Hulu into one streaming service, with an unfiled app to be available in a beta capacity next month.
Unified.
Is that unified? Okay, I'm blind. Thank you.
I stumbled on it too and went, "What word is that?" Yeah.
It was in a bad spot there. Disney CEO Bob Iger first announced plans to merge Hulu and Disney Plus into a single app earlier this year, and the app will be offered to those who subscribe to Disney Plus and the Hulu bundle, providing customers with one app to access all content. Right now, Disney, of course, offers a combined bundle that includes them both, but subscribers will need to download two separate apps. Pricing hasn't been announced, but this is, the current ad-supported Hulu and Disney Plus bundle costs $10 a month, whereas the version without ads is $20 a month. So this is going to be interesting to see where this goes. I have both services. I think a few of us here too do as well. And I think it's a smart move on their part, because you've got both very demanding apps that are high in the streaming world. I think that this just makes total sense to do that. What do you think, Ben?
I think this is a very smart move. Yep. It gives Disney Plus more content the way Max has done, the way the Paramount
Right.
Plus has done by adding Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
I think eventually you're going to see ESPN put into the Disney Plus app too. The big question,
Unless they sell it.
Yeah,
unless they sell it, exactly.
Yeah, the big question here might be what is going to be done with of Hulu Live TV.
Yeah, there was no mention of that.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Doesn't Disney even offer live TV already? Could they just rule into that?
Sometimes.
No, not in Disney.
But I thought so.
Sometimes they have like live streams of events.
They have live
but they-
events.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
But not like
like Elton John, they did it. And,
Yeah.
some others.
yet.
How much are you willing to bet that the new app will be worse than the both old apps combined?
Because you got two technologies going like this.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah. Honestly, the only thing about this I thought was was newsy was that it took this long for it to happen, because it was really just a question of time.
Yeah.
I think everybody saw this coming down the major freeway of your choice, and in your region, and I think that it was really just mostly I'm worried for exactly the reasons Patrice just outlined about, like, wait, I have two apps that are fine now,
ish.
and so fine. I didn't say great. I said fine. I mean, neither of them is HBO Max. Like, let's just put that on the table.
Fair.
Not that bar is particularly high, and then that's what worries me, because I don't want to end up with one app that kind of half-asses both of them. The thing I think is still kind of up in the air is what's going to happen in the rest of the world, because there's certain things that show up in different services in the rest of the world, and I don't know how this is going to affect that. So maybe that's why it took so long.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hulu is not available here. Like Disney Plus is, but Hulu is not.
But there's
so
no
yeah,
Hulu.
that's a good point.
So they may have to maintain it separate anyway.
Or we could get Hulu finally.
Oh, maybe
Maybe
Hulu.
that's it.
Not
Come on.
gonna happen, but we could.
No, you'll never get it because
Actually-
it'll be called something else, but it'll have all the
Well-
stuff from Hulu. So you'll finally get to
that
watch
would-
Letterkenny and Only Murders in the Building, and it'll be great.
That would be awesome.
Actually-
But no.
Go ahead,
Actually, they might, because for those who are not knowledgeable about Disney Plus in other markets, there is a kind of a more adult part to it called Disney Star.
Mhm.
It's not inconceivable that the Disney Star branding could be changed to Hulu worldwide.
Okay. I can see that.
It could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen. Did you have any other thoughts, Jeff?
For me, this is just a reminder that everyone needs to really pay attention to the content they're getting on their services, because Hulu was created as a platform for a lot of broadcasters to use together.
Right.
Mhm.
And it has transitioned into essentially a Disney controlled
Outpost.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
the old stuff that they don't want to have on the main platform. Basically.
Mhm.
I mean, after buying out the last part that was owned by Comcast, it is 100% Disney owned.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Next story here. Apple says it doesn't hike iPhone and Apple Watch prices to pay for its climate pledge. So don't blame the climate for Apple prices. Have you ever looked at the price of a brand new Apple Watch Series 9 and wondered if you're subsidizing Apple's environmental efforts? You can rest easy. You aren't, and those prices are all components, manufacturing, and profit. That was according to Apple's Vice President Lisa Jackson, that is behind the Apple's environmental and initiatives. And in a new interview, she confirmed that the company does not factor that as a premium. And it turns out that the making and then selling of the best Apple Watch to date just costs a lot of money, and that's why Apple charges this much. And they go on to say, talking a little bit more about the environment and all that fun stuff, but I tend to believe them. I mean, Lisa Jackson, if anybody, I feels she knows what she's doing when she's and taking care of the environmental stuff that Apple does. What do you think, Patrice, on this?
I mean, she's not lying, but I don't
Right.
think she's also telling the full truth. One way or another, you are paying for this. if it costs them more money to do this, and I think currently it probably does some way, they're saving probably somewhere else and making up for it and whatever. Like there's probably ways to do it, but one way or another, you're paying for it. It's like so. It's probably not directly in the phone, but it's somewhere indirectly in other costs included. So I don't believe it.
Okay.
It's marketing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I was gonna say that I think that she's correct if it's, not just the Apple Watch, because I think they are probably financing this with every purchase. So it's not just,
Of course they are.
Watches got more expensive. It's like that cost is built into everything across the line. So, if you have an M3 laptop on the way to you right now, you're probably paying a little bit for it. If you subscribe to Apple Music, you're probably paying a little bit for it. Like all of the hardware, all of the services, like all portions of that are going to finance it. It's not like, oh, the watch is $100 more this year, so obviously it's because that's not.
They didn't just tack on the price.
Yeah, and they're smarter than that anyway, because that pledge is for all products. It's not just for the watch or for the phone. So it seems odd that this was a thing that had to be written up, I guess. That this is a thing that needed clarification.
What do you think, Ben?
I'm with Kelly and Patrice. I mean, why they might be doing some nice marketing math here. It's ultimately going to go into the budget somewhere because Apple has this thing called shareholders.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Yeah. They like a nice stock price so they can get paid. And Apple's going to be just like, hey, we'll do a bunch of things, but we're not going to make more revenue elsewhere. Shareholders are not going to be happy. So, the products might have stayed mostly the same, but we did get a nice little price hike in services. Just saying.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did. Thoughts, Jeff?
Yes.
Thoughts?
Okay.
Yeah.
If I'm off base, tell me, and I'm okay with that. And
You're off base.
Thank you.
Trace beat me to it. That timing was perfection.
Pitcher's thrown over.
All right. So maybe I'm jaded because I spent so many years covering Apple news. I don't get why this is a story at all.
Yeah.
Why was this even written up?
Yes. Newsweek.
It was on iMore, so I trust them.
Well, I mean, they're not lying, but I look at this and I'm like, this is not news.
Mm-hmm.
If what I would have done is said, okay, so we have this information. What is it that actually matters? What can we bring to people that offers them some insight that just saying Apple doesn't charge you extra for climate initiatives? What is it? Because this is not news.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Exactly.
I'm Mr. Cranky Pants.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a good way to move to the next story. Next story is Apple Wallet account balance features now supports every major UK bank. Just a few weeks after Apple rolled out a brilliant new account balance upgrade to the UK iPhone users, we now know exactly which major banks are supporting the new feature, and it's good news all around. With iOS 17.1, Apple added this new feature for the UK users that will show all of their bank balances and transaction history right within the Apple Wallet app. It's all thanks to the UK's open banking API, hence it's not currently available in the US. And Apple explains that this new feature lets you connect your account to the Wallet app and view your debit and credit card balance, full transaction history, and more. The same support document also updated this week now lists all the UK banks that support the feature. And it looks like that The only major player not on the list is Starling. I don't know the banks in the UK, so I think
Never heard of it.
I've never heard of it. And then like I said, ask Patrice,
there you go.
you're living in Europe, so I don't think you're here with either.
I'm closer. I've been to the UK a bunch of times. Never heard of it.
Yeah. So, welcome. Well, go ahead, tell me what you think of this. I think at least it's a good start. I hope to see this in the US.
Yeah, it's a great feature. I mean, it is available to some extent in the US because at least Apple Card and I think some bank is supported if I remember correctly. But it's not across the board everything everywhere because there's no standard API. Yeah, it makes sense. As I said, I've never heard, like, I've been on British Tech Network for like I think 9 years by now or 10 years.
Wow.
I've never even heard of Starling, so I don't even know who they are or whatever. So who cares? But it's good, and it's coming to the rest of Europe. I've seen some stories. I think it's even coming to like my bank and stuff. So nice.
Actually, I'm looking at my Discover card I have on here, and it's showing all the latest transactions in the wallet. So some banks do it.
But those are the Apple Card transactions, right? Not all
no.
like all transactions. Okay, that's nice.
Oh, actually, no, you're right. Yep, they're all Apple Pay transactions.
Okay, it's Apple Pay. But as I seem to remember that there was at least one bank in the US who's already doing it. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought that was wrong. I mean, for sure, as I said, Apple Card and the Apple Card does it, but it's kind of
American
Apple Pay,
Express.
So.
My American Express account's showing.
Okay. Yeah.
Showing transactions.
Mm-hmm.
And how broke I am by all the things I just spent this month.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. So good feature.
What do you think, Kelly?
This is it's good news because it's one of those things that is sometimes a really hard problem to solve in the rest of the world. You know, like when everything comes with an asterisk when Apple announces something new. So you can get an Apple Card, but not everywhere. You can get a new phone, but not everywhere. You can get Apple Music, but not everywhere. And
I mean, most of the time, the answer is you can get it only in US.
Yeah. Or access to certain things. Like you can talk to this lady, but there are very few things you can actually ask her in the rest of the world or whatever. So I'm glad to see that there are certain things that are rolling out worldwide. So I know some of this stuff is really hard to solve, and I am glad to see that they're working on it. So yay for everybody else. I really like using my Apple Card. I like having all the transactions and stuff, in there. So I think this is just another way to make people more aware of spending, and that's always good too.
As I just said, looking at all the transactions in my American Express card. Jeff, what do you think?
At your peril. You can add it to your wallet at your peril.
At your peril. Apple's long-term strategy, and this is no secret, has been to be at the center of our lives.
Yep.
And anything that they can do to make it easier for us to have like a nexus point for everything in our lives makes it easier for them to actually achieve that goal. And right now, the easiest way to be a nexus point in our lives is to get everything going through our iPhones. So this is another step in that process. And my guess is that Apple is doing something behind the scenes in the United States to get some sort of standard for banks to be able to do the same thing here.
Yep.
That would be amazing.
Hope so.
Yeah.
And you got the final word?
I mean, isn't there already standards like that Apple could use? I mean, I can do it through I can get my direct deposit through most banks. I can automatically hook it up to things like Plaid.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But Apple pretty much wants to have the the same goals as the social network X, but actually has a chance of doing them.
That's true.
I wouldn't go that far, but
Yeah.
I think. Well, I mean, Ben, you said that there's things that are available now, but I also know that with Quicken, when I try to download from my bank, it has been broken for like 3 years, and it doesn't quite work right, and it will give you like sometimes all the transactions, and sometimes like Quicken just chokes on the download of transactions and doesn't work like it's supposed to, and it is super, super frustrating, and it has been broken forever. So I am hoping that Apple is working on something secretly in the background to make this easier for everybody, because then it will be easier for everybody. And everybody includes Mr. Kelly, who regularly applies profanity to Quicken, because there are a lot of times when things are not working like they should, even before he gets to what all the transactions actually are. Just trying to get things entered accurately sometimes is a huge hassle, because there's stuff that simply doesn't work and hasn't forever. And, some banks don't seem interested in changing any of that. So I hope that this is something that might drag banks kicking and screaming into the 20th century. I said 20th. I meant 20th.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Hey, we have HomeKit. We have HealthKit. Why not BankKit?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Coming to Dub 2024.
Would be really cool.
And anyhow, and that's when we realized that Chuck wasn't wearing any pants. Hi, Chuck.
Hi,
We're not supposed to tell that story. Oh, hi, Chuck.
And we want to welcome to the show Chuck Joyner. I'm so glad you were able to make it. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm great, Dave. I'm so sorry I'm late, but happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We saved the next story for you, and
Great.
It's about captures.
no, actually, it's about OneDrive. OneDrive users must justify why they are closing at the app before exiting. Trust Microsoft to find ways to make up something even more annoying. The act of closing the OneDrive app on Windows or Mac, for that matter, now force users to explain why you are doing such a thing. I don't think you have to just ignore the question. Microsoft won't let you quit until you answer. And there's like 6 or 7 different answers you have to give them.
Right.
I don't want to use one. I don't want OneDrive running all the time. I don't know what OneDrive is. I don't use OneDrive. I'm trying to fix a problem with OneDrive. I'm trying to speed up my computer. I have too many notifications or other. I mean, this isn't the first time that Microsoft's demanded some explanation when you try and leave one of their products.
It's not. They
And
have
Edge.
a long and storied history
Oh my God.
of interrogating people.
Yeah.
Changing
Exactly.
Edge. So Chuck, I thought it'd be a great thing to bring up right when you walk in our show to tell us what you think.
Why are you trying to drive my blood pressure up, David? I'm already on medication. When I saw this story, I was kind of speechless. It's like, really? Unfortunately, the answer you really want to give them is not on there.
But there's an other, and they make you type if you choose other. They make you
really?
fill in.
Really? Oh, good.
You get
okay,
to tell
then.
them exactly what.
Then that's
reason
What you think?
Then I have lots of suggestions that are not appropriate for this show. But the sense of entitlement is just incredible. I mean, and Google does it a little bit because Google, always wants you. Well, we want to make your Chrome your default browser, and that's fine. I mean, I kind of get that because that's just the way that they garner market share. But this just takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. The only slightly okay thing about this is it crashes most of the time anyway, so you don't have to quit.
So a lot of people aren't even going to see this dialog box.
Exactly. It just crashes.
But what does that say about Microsoft? They're giving you a feedback mechanism that crashes constantly. Gee, I wonder what other Microsoft products that reminds you of.
Yes.
All of them.
It's Here's the thing, though, is that the reason that I see this, and David can probably back me up on it, is that Microsoft has made changes in other parts of stuff, like the admin panels for the back end management of things. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on there, and things get changed or they get renamed or whatever, and then whenever I've gone in and said, go back to the old way or undo the thing, they're like, but why?
The new Outlook or the old Outlook?
Yeah, new,
So true. Yeah.
Oh, do I have?
And this applies in mobile.
Teams.
Yeah. But the thing that makes it really frustrating is that it's like, that was the thing that surprised me about this, was that they're doing this to end users, because they've been doing it to admins, like 365 admins and Office admins for a long time, because it's like, well, why not? Why can't? What possible reason could you have? Because you literally do not have basic functionality in new Outlook that you have in old Outlook. You will not let me view messages stored on my hard drive if I use new Outlook. So pass, and they do the same thing in the admin panel all the time. Well, why are you? And like most of the time, because I'm trying to be professional, I go to other and I say, I need to turn it off, and you make me put something in here so I can do that. So here's my answer. I am turning it off because I am turning it off. And then I turn it off. But they won't let me they've done this before. You can't proceed unless you give them some sort of reason. And I understand wanting feedback, and I get that you want to make the product better, but given the long and storied history of Microsoft software, I kind of feel like you should just cut me some slack and believe that there is some compelling reason that I have, and let me have it and move on with my day. Yep.
Any more thoughts on this? I thought this was kind of a fun one. It was also I'm wondering on the mobile device side of things too, because you see it all the time. I mean, Microsoft's making changes in iPhone app, like seems like daily. I mean, I unfortunately have to live in there every day with work and using OneDrive and using Outlook and using any of the other Microsoft products, SharePoint and Edge for that matter. So this is kind of another prime example of them just making all these changes.
Edge is another good example. Every time you start Edge and Safari is your default browser, it asks you every time, hey, do you want Edge to be your default browser? And you have to tell it every time, yes, I want to keep Safari every time. There is no don't ask again option. It is every time.
Right. Microsoft, kind of crappy. Did Clippy teach you nothing?
Well, and that's the thing. It's like they insist on, they try to wear you down is what happens, or they try to get you just, okay, fine, I'll click it and leave me alone. And Dave, you just brought up a really interesting thing that I keep getting caught with. I know it. It's been this way for a while, but it drives me crazy. On my phone, which I'm looking at right now, I have to use Outlook. That's our company email. But
same.
It has a big blue button that says new mail.
I know. Oh, as soon as that showed up, I'm like, why Apple? Why Microsoft? Why?
Well, new mail makes me want to click it thinking it's going to refresh my mail and see what's new. But instead, it's a compose button.
Their infinite wisdom, they think that has to be screaming right at you. You want to write a new email address.
That's so stupid.
No.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
no.
There's a reason I no longer use Microsoft products for personal reasons. They want you to do things their way, whether you want to do them or not. I mean, OneNote or any other Microsoft product, you can't use iCloud on it. You have to use their freaking OneNote.
I think if I could show this on the screen, that's what they when you tap the button, it's got that very similar menu in my message I'm showing here. That it shows a new mail, but you also can do other things here too. But they think that's a quick way of saying, "Hey, you can do something here. Why do I want this screaming at me right in my email?" I mean,
why do I need a Teams call when I'm in an email?
Yeah,
but also it's new.
Use voice, Teams call, new event, or new message.
But new message is not new mail. Anyway,
I mean,
anyway,
if it said compose, Dave, I don't even mind the big blue button, honestly. If it said compose,
but it says new mail.
I think about it, but it says new mail, and so that to me says I'm supposed to be refreshing this to get my new mail.
That's how I would interpret that as well.
New message.
And one of the things too that I just found out, and Dave, you probably knew about this, but apparently on the M1 chips, Teams does not support a virtual background.
No, it does.
It does?
I think it does.
Maybe the new Teams does.
I think it does.
Well, it does. I've used it. It wasn't.
If you're using Teams Classic, then maybe it doesn't.
I mean, some of the decisions.
Another case of spectacular product management on Microsoft's part.
I want to go off too much of a tangent on this, but I thought it was a good story.
But
The
very
people should know
frustrating.
about it too.
It's super frustrating, and it's really hard to get things done when all anything wants to do when it's broken is talk to you about it. Like, no.
Yep.
Especially because that never comes up unless you are taking some sort of action. Like, I'm in the midst of quitting this to troubleshoot, or I'm upgrading my operating system, so I was just going through and quitting everything or whatever. And, now you want to throw a speed bump in the middle of the thing that I'm already trying to do. Thanks. That was sarcastic.
When I'm doing something on my computer, it needs to be all about me. And if I choose to use your tool, then your tool should be helping me do what I want to do, not getting in my face and saying, wouldn't you love to use our tool more? Wouldn't you love to use this other tool of ours? At least not every
anymore.
single time. Yeah.
No, it's all about Microsoft. You should know that.
Yeah,
it's not about you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Let's go into one more last story here. Final Cut Pro. I'm excited to see this. Apple released a press release in their newsroom a couple of days ago as we record this. They have Final Cut Pro has taken the video editing on the Mac and the iPad to this next level with some more new, powerful new features. Latest updates streamline the editing process with improvements to timeline navigation, expanded in-app content, and voiceover recording. And I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but we're going to go through. I'll mention that some of the organizational tools are going to have been improved for editing complex timelines, make it easy in the Mac. Update will also allow editors to see organization of their timeline at a glance and easily differentiate clips from assigned roles. So they've done some really cool things, and more optimization for Apple Silicon as well. They should. As well as on the iPad version of Final Cut Pro, they did some new voiceover capabilities and some workflow benefits. They also had creators can now increase their efficiency by combining a select group of connected clips or storylines and consolidate them into a single connected storyline. So They've done some really cool things here. It's gonna get released as a free update for the existing owners of the software. Towards the latter part of this month or next month, as well as for the Final Cut Pro for the iPad. And of course, you don't know, it's $300 for Final Cut Pro, so you got to be a pretty serious video editing person that you want to pay for Final Cut. And some people may not like that price, and there's other alternatives, but Final Cut is pretty awesome. I own it myself. As well as on the iPad, you do have to. It's a subscription service, but it's $49 a year or $4.99 a month. So if it's something you think you're like to put in your workflow, and it might work out something as far as on your iPad. Yeah. So, you guys, any thoughts?
There's always iMovie.
Yeah, there's that too. Chuck, go ahead. I know you're a Final Cut user as well as Jeff. But
I am, Dave. My camera keeps adjusting itself. I don't quite know why.
Wait till it switches cameras on you randomly, like happened to me earlier.
We saw a wall.
Just a wall.
But what's, I think, in my opinion, what's great about this, though, is that I have never paid for a Final Cut update. Once you buy it, you pretty much buy it. And it has been years. And so, and there was a bit of a kerfuffle, as usual, that the new version for the iPad was going to be a subscription. Right. But if you really need it on the iPad, $50 is cheap. So, and the fact that I know there's always concern when, especially among the Final Cut community, when something isn't updated frequently, they feel like that may be slipping behind. I've played with Premiere. I've worked with DaVinci Resolve. Great products, no question. But Final Cut it just makes sense to me in so many ways. So
same.
If you do want to get into video editing, give it a good hard look, because there's so much support around it. There's so many other assets and resources that can be added to it. It's just a phenomenal thing. So, and I'm anxious I've seen a demo of some of these features. I'm really anxious to see exactly how I can use it.
The big difference is like you have iMovie to start with. Like if you're starting with video, it's just very simple things you want to do. Use iMovie, works fine. And then when you're like, oh, we want to do more, you jump over to Final Cut, and it's a lot of stuff from iMovie still applies. Yes, it can do much more. It's more complex. It has more features. All of it, yes. Mm-hmm. But the learning curve is not as steep. Premiere even for me, I switched from Final Cut to Premiere, and it was a completely different beast. It was really hard to learn, in my opinion. The interface is not great anyway.
I found that too.
Yeah. So, I mean, you get used to it and you learn it, like, it's fine. But I still think Final Cut is better for me personally.
Right.
How about you, Jeff?
I was happy when Final Cut for iPad was announced, and I love that we're seeing more features show up for the Mac version and the iPad version. I mean, we are talking about pro level tools here, so keep rolling in more pro level functionality. I'm a LumaFusion user,
right?
And I feel like Final Cut Pro on the iPad is finally the first actual competition to LumaFusion that we've seen for nonlinear video editing on the iPad.
Yeah, and something I just remembered, Final Cut is also Apple's kind of demo app, you could almost say, that shows off, look how cool these MacBooks, these Apple Silicon chips are, and all of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I'm glad you brought up LumaFusion, because they're seriously competing products. LumaFusion's a one-time purchase, and they have a couple things that they've added over time that are significant enhancement features. But so we have two world-class video editors for the iPad. That's no small thing, and the fact that now you have Final Cut as well just brings more awareness of what you can do on an iPad.
Yeah,
with either Final Cut or LumaFusion. So, try both and pick the one that works for you.
Yep. Yeah. Anything to add, Ben, before we move on?
DaVinci Resolve is on iPad as well.
Yep.
Nice.
Fair. Yep.
Forgot about that. You're right. Thank you.
But I have to say, I mean, whether you go with iMovie, whether you go with DaVinci Resolve free or whether you go with Final Cut, right now you really can't make a bad choice.
Nope. There's a lot of great choices.
Yeah. The right tool for the job is important, and it shouldn't be too complicated to find the one that works for you. So, yeah, it's just nice that there's a lot out there to really help. I mean, on a larger level, it also helps shift the conversation about what you can do with just an iPad. I can run Final Cut on an iPad just like I can on my computer and do, professional level video editing with my iPad. And, that I think that's important as well. Like, everybody recognizing that you've got the kind of horsepower and you've got the capability on that device. So I'm glad for it. Yeah.
And Jeff said something too, I think that's important, that we just sort of glossed right over. And that is, this is a pro level tool. This is being used in Hollywood. Okay. So if it seems a little complex to you, that's because it should be. You're flying a fighter jet. You're not flying a Cessna.
It's a complex tool. So yeah.
Yeah. And what you can do with it, you can make it dance if you know what you're doing. So don't be intimidated by it. Just recognize that it's got a lot of room for you to grow into.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the topics this week. Mixing it up a little bit. We're going to start with iOS 17.1's updates. 17.1.1 came out this past week. We had some bug fixes, and there was a BMW wirelessly charging issue, as well as the weather widget. It just 2 weeks after 17.1 came out, which of course 17.1 brought us the new AirDrops and Standby and Apple Music features we talked about earlier. And you just go ahead and update it like you normally do. So I'd say go get it, because there are some bug fixes and security patches that are always there. We'll make sure that you're running this. Apple specifically says in rare circumstances, Apple Pay and other NFC features may become unavailable. And on iPhone 15 models, after the wireless charging in certain cars, so they didn't say BMW, excuse me,
Apple would
And
never
then
say
the
BMW.
No.
yeah, and then the weather lock screen widget may not correctly display snow.
Which
Okay.
is bad because that's coming up now.
It's
Yeah.
coming, especially
Yeah.
Mhm.
So go out, get that update. Very important to do that. They also updated HomePod 17.1.1, and I specifically noted this in the show notes that Jeff will have some comments about this. So HomePod, it does fix a bug that could cause some HomePod speakers to respond slowly or fail to complete requests. This is a couple weeks after the release of 17.1 update for HomePod, which added the enhanced dialogue for the original HomePod, and HomePod Mini, which I was excited about. So Jeff, what do you think? Did it fix your problems?
Finally, after 5 years of our long national nightmare of HomePods not performing as they should, they still don't perform.
They
as
still
should.
don't.
Exactly.
They still have a performance issue.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
it's now granted the amount of time from when the update came out to now, it hasn't been that long. And oftentimes a HomePod might seem to be performing better after a software update because it had just rebooted.
Because it rebooted, yeah.
And so like immediately after installing the update, sure, my HomePod seemed to be performing better. However, it is still failing to do things, even though it's clear that it heard me. And a couple things felt faster when I was doing requests, but that was right after the reboot. My take on this, with the limited amount of time we've had to really experience this update, is thanks, Apple, for pulling another Lucy on me.
Yeah, still responding from the wrong rooms. So
Well, just call your friend Barbara Streisand and have her get Tim Cook on the horn.
there's an idea.
There you go.
You know, I like how you think.
Yeah.
I'm going to call her,
Babs.
Babs. Yeah, it's Jeff.
Jeez.
Anyone else have any other thoughts about the HomePod? I think it's go ahead, update it. It's important. You got to keep these things up to date. Just to
Just
make
don't
sure that
expect anything magic happening.
Yeah.
add to that, Ben can probably attest to this one. There was a release of a new firmware to the Beats Fit Pro and the Power Beats Pro. I don't know if you have those.
Oh, yep. Fits Pro.
And yeah, so and it said that doesn't really provide any details of what that updated, but I'm sure it's just some bug fixes and improvements.
There is one. Go do it. Yeah.
Yep. So take care of that. And you got Watch 10.1.1 that was released this past week as well. This did fix a problem with the Apple Watch battery drain bug. That's a problem.
Yes.
Apple today released that update, which came out in September. It was only 2 weeks after 10.1 came out, which added the double tap and name drop support. So make sure you don't definitely go out and upgrade your Apple Watch, because that, especially if you're noticing some pretty bad battery drainage.
Another thing that 10.1.1 fixed, at least for me, 10.1 broke some of my complications, and like they wouldn't display. So they were still there. I could tap on them and then it would take me into the appropriate app. But there was just nothing visible on the watch face. With 10.1.1, broken widgets or not widgets, broken complications are displaying correctly again for me.
Well, that's good. All right. But
I'll make one quick note on this. I've got an Apple Watch 7. And for whatever reason, this update took forever to verify on the phone and then install.
Oh, yeah. Same thing happened to me.
I mean, like hours. But
wow.
Oh, wow.
When it was done, well, look, I don't know what was going on in the background, but when it was done, everything worked, and my battery life is definitely improved, even on 7 than it was on 10.1. So
No, it
If
happened
you
to me on
had-
the Series 9. So I had to do I ended up just doing a hard reset just to reboot it. And then that seemed to help it. But it was sitting for a good long hour. I think I did it during Mac Voices the other day, and it was sitting there. I was like, what the hell is going on with this thing?
Yeah. So just be patient with it, because I think our friend Webb Bixby said he had the same thing. He got frustrated and did a hard reset, and I put it down and thought I'm going to walk away and go do something else, and then I came back and it was still doing it, and it just be patient, and eventually it went through, and now the watch is better than ever.
Yep, I agree. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to beta. This week, 17.2 beta 2 was released on the beta cycle here. It did expand some new features in here. Let's I'll take a look at 17.2. So the biggest new feature is the journal app. I don't know if anybody, Ben, if you've looked at the. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot, Patrice. Yeah, how is the journal app?
I've tried it. It is. I actually really like the app. I mean, the integrations into other apps are still missing because Apple promised that, but for sure it just started shipping, so I don't think anybody could have worked on that. But the journal app itself, I've used journal apps like a lot, and I actually like them. And this is a really good solution. Like it shows me all my, for example, all my exercises, and if I took photos like while I was out and about, it shows that. And you can just create an entry by one tap. Simply say create an entry without writing anything about it, and it just creates an entry for whatever those photos were, or whatever you did. So it's really good. Really like it.
Okay, good. Did you have a chance to try it at all yet, Ben? I know you hadn't had enough time on it.
Not enough time, not enough interest.
Then there's that.
Fair point.
Fair enough.
That's fair.
Let's also Watch OS 10.2 was released. Not anything major notably, unless Patrice, you know something that's not.
No, I wanted to mention one thing that you forgot in the 17.2 beta 2.
Oh, thank you.
That is the, what is it called now? The video, the
Spatial
3D video. Spatial video. Yes, exactly.
Video?
I'm blanking.
Okay.
Spatial video.
Oh,
is
yes. We just talked
1080p only, 30 frames per second only. You have to enable it specifically in the settings app. Like it's fairly limited, I think, but it's there if you want to test it now.
Yeah, spatial video, and that's going to be used with the Vision Pro at some point.
Yeah, and you can watch them on your phone, but for sure not in spatial anything. It's just a video.
Right. All right.
And then think about that for a second. Patrice says only 1080p at 30 frames per second.
By today's standards.
That's how demanding we've become. That's how far we've come, and very quickly, because it's not that long ago that 720p was a big deal.
Yeah.
And now it's like, 1080, but it's okay.
Well, 1080 is fine, but when you're doing 3D depth things, especially when you're doing something with Vision Pro, where the higher resolution is very obvious, and the 30 frames per second doesn't give you as smooth video flow as you really need when you're doing the 3D type viewing like that.
Yeah.
It's okay to say only. However, your point that we've gone from 480 up to 720 and then 1080 and now we can say only 1080.
Only, yeah.
Only. All right. Let's. I'm just gonna run through these real quick. Again, we mentioned WatchOS 10.2 is out. tvOS 17.2 is out for developers. Nothing special there. Apple did release a new firmware upgrade to the AirPods Pro 2. And of course, you never know what they're doing and when it's going to get updated. So articles in the show notes about that. There isn't really much else to say about that. It looks like it's going to be just the version 2. It's the Lightning model and the USB-C model, so it's both. So just check on that. You'll see what that has to be updated at some point. It'll just do it automatically. You won't even know. So that's that with updates on that. So one of the main topics I wanted to talk about this week was I found this article that's really interesting. It was actually in Consumer Reports of all places. I don't usually use that source as a place to discuss things here on the show, but I thought this was a really interesting thing about cables. And they went through some tests. They tested cords from Apple, from Samsung, and other brands, and looked for durability and found two clear champs of what were good. One that's priced at $29, one that's priced at $6.55. So you kind of see what the extreme is between those two cables. And these are USB-C cables. And you can go through some of the brands that has cables from Amazon Basics, Walmart's ONN brand, which I actually bought one of those cables. Actually, I remember, Ben, you found that plug one week we were looking at that, so I ended up buying it because we all have to buy cables, right? And plugs. So, and a number of these were lightning cords and some of them were USB cords. So they did a bend test and then they did a twist test. And then they show the animation here, how they were doing some pretty serious twisting of cables to see how long they last before they break. And they basically said that they can recommend two charging cables, which is the Apple Lightning cable, was the first one at $29. And that's the, that they tested the 2-meter version. And the 1-meter version, of course, is $10 less. And then they got the results below. So it showed that for the Apple cable, it was 11,500 bends before it actually failed on the Lightning to USB. You look at the Amazon Basics on the Lightning cable as well as the ONN from Walmart, 796. So that's quite a drastic number there. Same, and when you go back to the USB-C cables, they didn't rate Apple for some reason, but they did do the Amazon Basics USB-C to USB-A cable. 11,500 bends, and then the other brands were a lot lower. So I just found this to be very interesting to see. We don't even think about that, really, how long these cables last. Or we all buy cables all the time. We all buy adapters all the time. I'd like to get the panel's thoughts on what cables do you like? I buy Anchor a lot of times. I buy other brands that aren't listed here. I'll start with you, Chuck. What does cables matter to you? Do you just buy? You're not going to go to the Walgreens or local drugstore to buy a cable there. As I don't ever do that. But what cables do you stick with when you buy cables?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a dire emergency to go to Walgreens and pick up.
Exactly.
Yes.
I tend to stick with Anchor. I tend to stick with OWC. You may be paying a little bit of a premium. The one thing, the fallacy I find in this test is that it's testing for bending. It's like, okay, that's fine. But when it comes to USB-C now, we're passing more power through than we've ever passed through before to our devices. And, they say before it failed. Okay, if it failed just by not charging, that's fine. If it failed by shorting out your device, that's a whole nother different level of fail. So, I look at this and say, okay, fine. You can save a lot of money, but they do acknowledge that Apple has superior engineering. Anchor does a great job. OWC does a great job. There are other brands out there, the reputable brands. So those are the ones I stick with because I just feel like I don't want to risk my machine, on that. That just is, it's not like it used to be, and you have to be aware. And so more power to Consumer Reports. I use them for a lot of things. But I respect these tests for what they tested for.
Right.
But there's another piece of the story that we never got to.
Yeah.
Agreed. How about you, Patrice? I know you buy a lot of cables, like we all do here. Why am I even saying that? So.
Actually, I don't buy that many cables because I have a ton of Apple cables laying around. Like, every device comes with them, and they really do last very long. So, like, I'm like Chuck. If I have to buy something, it's either Apple or Anchor or WC. That's usually the three. But like, by the way, I know why the Apple USB-C cable, the iPhone cable is not included, because I think it wasn't enough time from the time Apple actually shipped it to test it. That takes a while to do this 11,000 bands.
right? That's
they
true.
said 6 years of use, I think, on the lightning cable from Apple.
Yeah, I mean, they
that's a long
shortened
time.
that. They shortened it for sure in a shortened amount of time with their test stand. But like the article actually has some really good points. You can't tell from the price and you can't tell from the brand, because like the Lightning Amazon one like basically would have failed after 6 months, but the USB-C lasted forever. The cheapest was in some cases better than in their test, at least, than the most expensive one. So you can't really tell, like, without actually testing it. But what's true is, for the reputable cables, most likely thing that's going to happen is they're going to fray. You can bend them over time, they're going to fray. So this test is for sure a really good measure of what would happen when you use it over time. And you don't want it to fail after a couple of months, because that's kind of waste of everything.
Yeah.
Yep. How about you, Kelly?
I buy some cables. I like retractable cables because I like my cable bag not to be a complete disaster. So I have who's my lightning cable?
Skosh.
Yes, I have some Skosh USB-A, and there's a USB-C retractable one that I got that I can't remember who makes, but it's been pretty reliable. And then I buy a lot of Ugreen, and like for MagSafe, what's ESR is who makes the Halo Lock stuff, and they have a MagSafe cable with a little kickstand on the back, which is super handy. So I buy like different things for this. I need a really long cable or a really short cable. I have another one that's got like every end on it, so I don't have to worry about that I got from Rolling Square. And the thing that I find in them, especially now with USB-C, is what kind of power you can put through them, because there are some that are very low power. So in an emergency, if you're stuck with no other cable except this one and you need to plug your computer into it, your computer wants like 65 watts or more, and this cable will only do 30, and that can be a problem. So that's the other thing you kind of have to look for. My go-to tends to be JSOX or Ugreen, and then for MagSafe stuff, I've got some ESR gear that I like a lot, and I tend to stick to those. I do have OWC cables, and I have like power banks from Skosh and some smartish stuff, and those are the ones that I kind of go to, because that's the other thing that they are not showing you, is like what kind of throughput you're getting from those. So did the Amazon Basics cable charge my laptop in a reasonable amount of time? Or, did it take forever? Or did the Samsung one, the Samsung USB-C cable, did it charge, somebody else's regular iPhone 15 just fine, but David's Pro Max took all afternoon? That kind of stuff I think matters too, because that's one of the things. Sometimes if you look at the reviews on the cables, like at Amazon or like Adorem or B&H, when you look at the stuff for the cables, there's always somebody that hooked up a volt tester to it, to show, like, it says it will do 35 watts and it does 35 watts, or it says it'll do 35, it does 10, and being able to find out that throughput. Yep. So that's a thing, especially because USB-C is not the same as Thunderbolt, is not the same as USB 4, is not the same as, when you get into, once you wade into what you actually need the cable for, it all gets really complicated in a hurry. So, if you're looking for a cable, you kind of have to go in knowing what it is you're setting out to achieve, and then you can go from there. And it sucks that it's that complicated, and it makes things really hard, but at least there's some brands out there that are very reliable, and that's good.
Jeff and Ben, would you have anything to add that would be any different than everybody else has talked about with cables?
I'll give you an honorable mention. Don't forget about RadTech. Awesome
RadTech.
cables.
Yes.
I have a RadTech USB-A to Lightning cable in my car that is, I bet it's close to 10 years old now, and is
It's
still
that one?
solid.
Wow.
This is the sister cable. It's this cable. Well,
No,
this
I
is the same
remember-
cable that I have in my car.
When you picked me up from the airport many years ago.
It's that same
that
cable.
cable.
It's still
Okay.
in my car. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's probably worth pointing out that in Jeff's
That's impressive,
environment, with the temperatures going up and down and sideways,
Mhm.
that is
Sometimes in the same day.
yes,
yeah,
that's
all at
kind of
once.
amazing. That's kind of
Sometimes
amazing.
between meals.
Yeah. Yeah.
During
In the
the
time-
meal,
In the time it took to tell you the weather was weird, it got weird again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yes, Kelly, that cable that you're thinking of,
Yes,
that's
it's that cable.
I'm still using it. Yes.
Nice.
Wow.
Last word for you, Ben, on cables.
honestly, I'm kind of all over the place. If it's
Yeah.
if it's anything I don't that's mission critical on my Mac, I use Thunderbolt cables, even if it's not a fully a Thunderbolt task.
Right.
But I mean,
Fair.
as far as day-to-day cables, Anchor, great company. They also have
Mhm.
a distribution deal with Walmart, so you can find them at any supercenter.
Mhm.
The lesson here may be that if you see a cable that comes with a coupon for free General Tso's chicken, don't.
No.
I was gonna say-
Chicken.
I was
Note
going to
to
say
self.
a free fill up
No
on
General
a free,
chicken.
free
Yeah.
tank of gas.
Yeah, just not a good idea.
No.
Yeah. Also, don't eat the General Tso's chicken
Yeah.
if it's given as a coupon.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Note
Oh,
to
thank-
self.
This was a good topic to talk about because we all use cables in one way or other, and I think and like Chuck said, Consumer Reports is a very knowledgeable. They're very knowledgeable people, a good source for that kind of stuff, and yeah, and you should be aware of it. And I'll have links in the show notes as well as links to a lot of these cables that we mentioned, so you can check them out yourself. We're going to go ahead and one more topic here to wrap up. I wanted to do a quick review of the Apple Pencil, the USB-C version that just came out. You know, the Apple was spouting out the great fact that they released this new, much lower price pencil, and we've already talked about the pencil, what the differences are between the Apple Pencil 2 and this, and we know that someone like Jeff or anybody who's an artist is not going to want to use this pencil. Right off the bat, I mean, I've got it showing on the camera here. The cable seems like kind of wonky to plug this in. That's the only way you can charge it. You cannot charge this pencil on the iPad itself, even though it is magnetic and will attach. I've tried it a number of times and it will not charge it. The only way you can charge it is by cable, as far as I can see.
You are correct. It is
Yeah.
USB-C only for charging.
Right. So, I mean, it feels cheap, honestly. And you can go back. We've talked about it with those cheaper $18 pencils. Apple's charging $79. So, in my opinion, I mean, I've got both the Apple Pencil 2 and this. I compared them, and I definitely see a big difference. And definitely the pressure sensitivity is not there. And so I don't even know why anybody would buy this pencil. I'll be honest. I think it's something that people are just not going to be too excited about once they get it. And then especially when you can buy off one of those knockoffs for $18, $20 are perfectly fine pencils for what you need. But if you're really a true artist and you want something that's good, stick with the Apple Pencil 2. I don't think there's any other reason to want to go with that. So anybody else has to add to, Jeff, you have anything to add on that?
Well, thank you for validating my decision to not even bother getting one to try it out, because I know it's not the right.
I saved you the
tool for me.
$79. There's the box. It's going to go right back in the box and it's going to get returned. So,
I mean, that says a lot right there.
yeah,
I think there is a market for that, even though we are not that market.
Right.
And at risk of this sounding bad, Chuck, I think you are more likely to be in the market, or at least Apple's target market, for this pencil. Someone that wants a stylus for writing or just tapping, things like that, and they want it to be from Apple, then that's I think where this fits in. But for someone that's going to be seriously using this for a wide range of activities, and especially including more creative art related activities, the USB-C Apple Pencil is not the right tool.
Right.
Correct.
Jeff, I thank you for pointing out as a potential target market, but this is back to Kelly's comment about the right tool for the right job. I have a knockoff as well, and it does charge by the just sitting it on the iPad, and that to me is a much more important feature than the pressure sensitivity or anything else. So, if this is again one of those, think about how you're going to use it, think about which features are important to you, and then see if there's an option out there that suits it. The one other thing you got to be careful about, and Jeff, you know a lot more about this than I do, but the tip that is going to be interacting with the surface of your iPad, if you don't do what I do, and I have a glass screen protector on, so if it scratches the glass screen protector, that's fine. I can just take it off. But if it scratches the actual glass of the iPad, now you have a problem.
That's bad.
So, just be aware of those factors when selecting, and again, look at who the manufacturer is. I've got one that I have never heard of the company before or since, but it works. It works just fine for me. And again, I've got the glass screen protector, so there's no downside because I'm not plugging in anything that is going to potentially damage my iPad.
Well, Chuck, I will now build on that because clearly we've taken over the show from Dave.
No, not at all. I wanted your opinions on the Apple Pencil. That's why I bought it. I took one for the team to see what was all about, and
now you're going to take it back for the team.
Yeah, that's right.
Apple has a 14-day return policy. I'm going to
take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're planning on doing the screen protector thing, but you also want to have the all-in, complete solution, screen protector, plus you have the better tactile feel, and it uses special tips, you end up having to get Apple's Pencil, the Apple Pencil 2, right, to actually do that. And I mean, example, here's my rock, paper, pencil kit. It showed up finally, and it's great. But if I was using a knockoff Apple Pencil, it's worthless because it includes its own special Apple Pencil tips. So you have to use an Apple Pencil with it.
Though that said, those will work with the USB-C one.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, the tips are the same. Yeah.
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 Very good. All right. So one last thing, I had an app I wanted to talk with you guys about. So I don't know if you were aware of it or not. This is a new PDF app I hadn't even discovered before, and it's absolutely free, which is even the best part. It's called PDF Gear. It does have Copilot AI, and it's got some seriously powerful editing tools. It really just you have basically access to everything, and you have access to being able to do quick conversions to things like Word and Excel and PowerPoint and those types of things in here. But it does have this advanced AI Copilot, which is an AI assistant to work with PDFs, and it will look and convert and have all these things that'll work when it comes to AI. It is very simple to work with as far as PDFs goes. Good suite of apps. And then who wants to pay for Adobe Acrobat when you could have something like this that's probably meet your needs? And there's many others out there. I mean, the PDF market is so saturated with different apps out there. But I found this to be interesting because it does also work. It works with not only Mac OS, iOS. It works with Windows as well. So, and it's 100% free. There's no limits, any size you can edit, and all that kind of stuff. So. I have a link to an article, actually. It was written up in Macworld about it, and the link is in the show notes as far as any of that. They also have another app called, just if you want a conversion app, which is also free. This is on the iPhone or the iPad. It's called PDF Converter Gear 2, and you just launch this open, and you can just select any of the types of things that you want to convert. Either you want to convert a PDF to Word, an image to PDF, PDF to image, so on and so forth, merging, splitting, It's all there in this particular app that it works. I would think probably more valuable on the iPad would it be on the iPhone, but it does work with both. That one's absolutely free too. It's the same developer, PDF Gear Tech is the name of the company, and I thought these were pretty cool apps you should check out.
Dave, I have a question for you.
Yep.
As someone who deals with PDF a lot, I see you can fill out PDF forms. Does it let you create a PDF form?
I believe yes, it does.
Wow.
Oh.
As far as I saw. I mean, I just looked at this like a day or two ago, so I didn't have a ton of time playing with it, but almost positive it does. So it's worth a try. Yeah, if it's free, I'd like to get your maybe we can get your feedback next week on this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
Can I be that guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the question you're about to ask, I want to know the answer to as well.
Which question are you going to ask, Jeff? I'll
What's
let
the
you ask
business
it.
model if they're giving this away for free?
Well,
Ding,
that
ding.
fits in with mine because this says, build in AI, it will summarize documents.
Privacy.
Is this summarized on documents? Because I look at PDF Gear 9, Ben Coolen Street, Sunshine Plaza, Singapore, and I'm sorry to say that, but it's just the world we live in that I've become so sensitive to this. And we've had on all of our shows, we've had conversations about security and AI and large language models. And so if it is summarizing a document, how is it doing it? I want to know more about its AI before I'm going to do anything other than maybe, a recipe for chicken soup.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, I mean,
Absolutely.
and it seems like a decent PDF editor in itself. You don't necessarily have to use the AI part of it, but I like to see what your guys' thoughts. Just try it with something that's not sensitive, and
all right.
I'll even try it too.
They do address my question, which is what's the business model, and their about page says that they're currently offering their products for free to build a user base, and then charging for premium features at an affordable price is our future monetization plan. But
so it's VC funded, and that's basically.
Yeah.
And that's great. Maybe it is, but it just this applies to almost everything we talk about on all of our shows. Is just ask a couple questions and think about it. 99% of the time, you're probably just fine, but it's that 1% that will bite you in the backside.
I think that applies to life in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Patrice just called down from the mountain to give us.
Well, this was an awesome show. Thank you for celebrating my birthday with me. I just loved the fact I was able to have all of you on the show this week, and it was an absolute blast. I think this is the most I've had on the show since I've started. So this is just a great.
Well, we're not done. If you're trying to wrap up, we're not done.
Oh, we're not? Okay.
No, because we need to know what you're doing for your birthday.
I am going to have a nice dinner with my family tonight. So.
That sounds
very nice. Unless you've decided that you don't like your family, but I've met your family, so it sounds really
You've met
nice.
you and Chuck have both met my family, so
yeah.
So we have.
Sounds like a threat. You've met your family.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's going to be a hibachi dinner, so we're gonna have some Japanese steakhouse.
Very nice.
Good.
So
we know that Chicago has awesome food. So.
Yes.
Yeah,
it does. It does. Yeah. So, but thank you all for being here and celebrating and being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Then let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchbyos.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchbyos, techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchbyos.com/coffee. And speaking of support, I did get a listener to support us this week. I wanted to read their comment. It was thank you, Scallion, for buying me a coffee.
Go Scallion.
Thanks, Scallion. And he says, I, for one, will miss the Apple Music voice plan because we talked about the voice plans going away on that. But he says, I drive around all day and it fits my needs perfectly. What's more, it's less than half the price of the traditional Apple Music plan. I agree. And he says, I really enjoy your show. It's especially nice when Jeff Gamet and Kelly Gamet are on. I usually listen to I used to listen to the Daily Show on TMO and until it was abruptly ended. And it's particularly nice to hear their voices. One of these days, I'll get to listen to the show live. Thanks again, Scallion, for their nice comments, as well as buying me a coffee. I appreciate that.
Oh, nice.
And you also can become a Patreon of the show if you want to go to patreon.com/intouchwithios to support us. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you're notified when we're live streaming. It's usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current and past live streams as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, for many of the articles and the topics we speak of are discussed and they're flipped into this magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, which includes Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But just better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. And Kelly Gamet, thank you for being here and joining me on this great day. Where can people find you?
Well, next week you can find me celebrating my birthday.
That's right.
But until then, because I don't know if you were recording initially, it's David's birthday. What a great day. Everyone say happy birthday. Hi.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm so excited that you had me on with you for your birthday. Because I have been described as the person who likes wearing the giant sombrero at the Mexican restaurant on your birthday. So I'm always excited to help people celebrate who are interested in doing so. So yeah, next Tuesday, you can find me at karaoke, because in November we call it Kellyoke for my birthday. And otherwise, you can find me on Mastodon at Verso at mastodon.social. You can find me over on The Incomparable, where I show up on occasional podcasts. Like we just did a game show episode where we played the 1950s board game Careers, which was really entertaining and hilarious. You can find me on my show, I Want My MCU TV, which is over at The Incomparable, and occasionally blabbing with other people about Star Wars and what have you. You can find me on Tuesday nights, as long as Chuck Joyner still lacks the good sense to not let me into the Zoom meeting. You can occasionally find me on Thursdays on In Touch with iOS with David Ginsburg. And this week, you can find me on the British Tech Network with Jeff and Patrice and David and the Chuckbot.
That's right. Thanks, Kelly. And Patrice Brend'amour, thank you so much for being here. It's always an absolute pleasure to have you. And so the few times I can have you on because of our time differences, but I'm so glad you were able to make it today. And where can people find you?
Thank you. I mean, thank you for having me, and thank you for also moving it to like a time that I could join. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. It was a great show. I really enjoyed it. So you can find me, as already was mentioned, on the British Tech Network twice a week, Thursdays on the Big Show, where we talk about the non-Apple side of technology, and Fridays on the Mac Show, where we talk about the Apple side of things. So at BritishTechNetwork.com, that's where you can find that. You can find everything I'm doing, all the podcasts, projects, social media links, literally everything on my website, thepatrice.com. And I have another podcast that I think everybody, no, it's not quite. We still have to do a show with Ben, but almost everybody on this panel has been on. We've had a really great episode with David where we basically got to know all the good food in Chicago. It's Foodie Flashback, foodieflashback.com, where I interview really cool people about their food-related stories and memories and just everything that goes with that.
Thanks, Patrice. Chuck Joyner, thanks for being able to make it. I know you had a little bit of work stuff you had to deal with, and I really appreciate you were able to make it on the show. And where can people find you?
Hey, David, thank you so much for having me again. I am sorry I'm late. Happy birthday. My birthday gift to you is that I will not sing happy birthday to you. You can find me on Mac Voices, macvoices.com. That's where we talk to all kind of interesting folks every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We do Mac Voices live with everyone here, including Patrice when she can stay awake long enough. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV, and on all the big socials and all the little ones too. You can find me as at Chuck Joyner. Again, happy birthday.
Thank you, Chuck. Ben Roethig, so glad you were able to make it. I'm glad you're feeling better. And where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me on your social media choice at Ben Roethig. You can find my writings at Roethig.tech on the web. On Tuesdays, you can find me on Mac Voices with the Chuck Bot himself, Mr. Chuck Joyner. I just derailed myself. On Thursdays and Fridays, you can find me on the British Tech Network on the Big and Mac shows. Those two together are making me hungry. And you can find me on... here on In Touch with iOS with Mr. Dave Ginsburg.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. Last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet, thank you always for being here. I really appreciate it. And where can people find you?
Dave, it's always a treat to get to hang out with you, especially so today on your birthday. Yeah. Okay, where can people find me when I'm not just hanging out, being super excited about Dave's birthday? On social medias, Jay Gamet on basically all of them. The ones I'm active on right now are Mastodon, Instagram, and I'm getting more active on Threads. Then for shows, Chuck, bless your heart, you keep letting me back on Mac Voices Live. It's
I can't figure it out either.
I can't, but thank you. Dave keeps letting me back on In Touch with iOS. Thank you for that. Then on the British Tech Network on Thursdays for the Big Show, on Fridays for the Mac Show. And Brian Chaffin and I record the Context Machine. This week's episode is out already. And I interview Brian about his new book that's available for pre-order right now, Accidental Intelligence.
We'll put that link in the show notes too.
Oh, yeah. I have to make sure there's a link for that.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. What a blast we had doing the show this week. And we're going to come back next week with more great shows. And I'm going to go celebrate. But until next time, thanks for listening.